Welcome to Story Time at Robbinsdale Parkway United Church of Christ. This is Reverend T. Michael Rock. I'm one of the pastors here, and we're just so glad to connect with our kids and our young adults around stories during this time. It's tough to be cooped up and when the weather's nice, but we want to provide you with some of the stories that are really meaningful to our hearts, that touch us in beautiful ways. We want to make this story time something that sustains you throughout the summertime and connects you to your church community. Most of all, we want you to know how much we love you. We miss you so terribly much, and the biggest sadness for us during this COVID time, obviously, is just being separate from the people we love and care for. And we can't wait to see you sometime. And for the kids who are out there, I mean, we can't imagine what you're doing and growing and learning and being connected to your families at home. But please know that these stories come to you from our hearts. And hopefully we can do this periodically over the summertime and make this part of our ministry together. I'm starting this off with my favorite story of all time. I don't say that lightly. It's not a Bible story, but it's so scriptural. It's so sacred to me. And it's a story by Doug Wood. It's called Old Turtle. And for those who know me, they know the deep and abiding place of this story in my life and ministry. And it goes like this. Once long ago, though not very so long ago, when all the animals and all the rocks and the winds and the waters and the trees and the birds and the fish and all the beings of the world could speak, and they could understand one another, there began an argument. It began softly at first, you understand, quiet as the first breeze that whispered, "God is a wind who is never still." Quiet as the stone that answered, "God is a rock that never moves." Gentle as the mountain that rumbled, "God is a snowy peak high above the clouds." And the fish in the ocean that answered, "God is a swimmer in the dark blue depths of the sea." "No," said the star, "God is a twinkling and a shining far away." "No," replied the ant, "God is a sound and a smell and a feeling that is very, very close." "God," said the antelope, is a runner, swift and free, and loves to leap and race with the wind." "She is a great tree," murmured the willow, "a part of the world, always growing and always giving." "You are wrong," argued the island. "God is separate and apart. God is like the shining sun, far above all things." Said the blue sky. "No. God is a river who flows through the very heart of all things," thundered the waterfall. "She is a hunter," roared the lion. "God is gentle," chirped the robin. "God is powerful," growled the bear. And the argument grew louder and louder and louder until... Stop! A new voice spoke. It rumbled loudly like thunder and whispered softly like butterfly sneezes. The voice seemed to come from... it seemed to come from Old Turtle. Now, Old Turtle hardly said anything at all, and certainly never argued about things like God. But now Old Turtle began to speak. Here's Old Turtle. Here she is. Look at her. And she said this bit of wisdom. She says, "God is indeed deep," she said to the fish in the sea. "And much higher than high," she said to the mountains. "God is swift and free as the wind, and still and solid as the great rock," she said to the breezes and stones. "She is the life of the world," Turtle told the willow, "always close by, yet beyond the farthest twinkling light," she told the ant and the star. "God is gentle and powerful, above all things and within all things. God is all that we dream of and all that we seek," said Old Turtle, "all that we come from and all that we can find. God is. Now, Old Turtle had never said so much before. All the beings of the world were surprised and became very quiet. But Old Turtle had one more thing to say. There will soon be a new family of beings in the world, and they will be strange and wonderful. They will be reminders of all that God is. They will come in different colors and different shapes, with different faces and different ways of speaking. Their thoughts will soar to the stars, but their feet will walk the earth. They will possess many powers. They will be strong yet tender, a message of love from God to the earth, and a prayer from the earth back to God. And the people came. Oh, the people came in all of their colors and voices and races and languages and lands. And the people forgot. They forgot that they were a message of love. They forgot that they were a prayer from the earth. And they began to argue. They began to argue about who knew God and who did not, and where God was and where God was not, and whether God was or was not. And often the people misused their powers, and they hurt one another, and they even killed one another. And they hurt the earth, until finally even the forests began to die, and the rivers, and the oceans, and the plants and the animals and the earth itself. But the people could not remember who they were. They could not remember who God was, until one day there came a voice like the growling of thunder, but as soft as butterfly sneezes. Please, please stop. The voice seemed to come from the mountain who rumbled, "Sometimes I see God swimming in the dark blue depths of the sea." And from the ocean who sighed, "God is often among the snow-capped peaks, reflecting the sun." And from the stone who said, "I sometimes feel her breath as she blows by." And from the breeze who whispered, "I feel his still presence as I dance among the rocks." And the stars said, "God is very close." And the islands said, "God's love touches everything." And after a long, lonesome, and scary time, the time we are in right now, a long, lonesome, and scary time, the people listened and began to hear, and they began to see God in one another and in all the beauty of the earth. And Old Turtle smiled, and so did God. We are in a long, lonesome, and scary time. Let us remember that God is in all things, including you. Amen.